Hey, how's it? Holoike Jr. here. A long time no talk, eh? Yeah, gotta go school and I gotta get educated. Yeah, I was talking to the my friend the other day was telling me, oh, Facebook, there are all kind of people on top there, they fight with each other. They're talking about, oh, other king from this island and other king from that island and you over there that island, you know more money and the one over there, oh, I get choke money and then you get all the other people come inside, tell like this, like that. Ah, bruh, how come? How come all the people that's trying to get the country back to where it's supposed to be, they fight with each other about who the king, who the moe. But, the government gonna come later. And there's a process. Unless you guys went through the process, right? And unless you guys was voted in to be the king, you guys not the king. Well, I mean, maybe you guys get cooked or I don't know. You know what? I'm not even going over there. But all you guys that say talk about what you doing, what you going go do, and this, like that. Get some people. They don't talk nothing. You guys no hear nothing until it starts to happen. Just like my father's friend Kika, know this guy named Leon Siu. And Leon Siu, you don't hear much of him, but the bugger been out for like over 20 years, I think, doing the Minister of Foreign Affairs, talking to all the countries, talking with all the big wigs that know what they're doing, the arbitrators and this kind, that kind. But you know what, bro? This year, he just got nominated for a Nobel Prize, bro. Yeah, get hundreds of people get nominated, and that kind. He said, nah, I got nominated, that's good. At least, that what that does, what that tell us, is that he said, recognize for what he doing, not for what he say he going to do, but get people around the world that when the vote him in, they will nominate him for the Nobel Prize, bro. Never nominate one king. Because you know why? These kings, they fight against each other. They think they want king, they think they want queen, they think they want prince, I don't know. But over there, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, he's doing something. He's doing something important. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ask him one question. I'm going to ask him, about that kind of stuff. So I'm going to ask him, go sit back, you watch. I'm going to go look for him. I'm going to ask him some question. And then we're going to see what he say, okay? I see what he say. Chavera. Hey, aloha. Uncle Leon. Takain. I know you said Minister of Foreign Affairs for the Kingdom of Hawaii. Tell some my friends, they know about the UN, what the UN, the kind of place you go. What is the UN all about? I mean, I know you go there all the time, right? So try. You can tell us, guys who don't know too much about that kind. You can tell us what the UN is all about. Okay, okay. I go sit back, I go listen. Mahalo.
Oh, aloha. Yes, I can tell you about the UN and how it operates. The UN is actually what one would call a country club. It's a club of countries, and the countries are there because they are looking out for their own interests. I think one of the misunderstandings that we have is that they're there to actually promote world peace and things like that, which they are. But really, each individual country is there in order to protect its own interests, to either advance its own interests or to protect their interests from being overwhelmed by other countries. So it's a club of countries that come together because of self-interest. They all have a self-interest.
Okay, Uncle Leon, what is the Hawaiian Kingdom doing? I mean, specifically what they're doing. You can talk more to the point? what the Hawaiian Kingdom actually trying to do?
Specifically, what the Hawaiian Kingdom is doing is educating the nations about our situation. And we're asking them to do some things that would be doable from these countries. And one of them is to examine a particular resolution called 1469 that was passed by the General Assembly in 1959 that accepted the United States report that the Hawaiians had taken a vote and had decided to become integrated into the United States as a full state, member state of the United States. The United Nations accepted the report from the United States, and therefore through the passage of Resolution 1469, accepted Hawaii, the report that accepted that Hawaii and Alaska had become integrated into the United States. And by doing so, they really affirmed that the United States had conducted proper and legal procedures in order to make us states of the United States. And so this was an affirmation on the part of the United Nations. So in that way, the United States gained confirmation of their actions. Even though the actions were illegal, when the United Nations accepted it, it gave it some form of legitimacy. And what we are doing right now is to ask the United Nations to go back and re-examine the conditions and the report that was given to them to show that the report was actually false. So, but we want them to find this out on their own. They pretty much know, but we're asking them to just review the report. We're not asking them to come to any conclusions because we pretty much know what the conclusion will be. But in examining the report, they will help us, that examination will help to undermine the United States' claim of legitimacy of their presence here in the Hawaiian Islands. And by doing so, we actually can now set the stage where the United Nations and the member states of the United Nations will no longer support the United States' position that they are lawfully in the Hawaiian Islands. So that's what one of our approaches is. It's a bit tricky, and we need to get some countries on board. But it's better to ask those countries to support a review of a particular action rather than to jump to the conclusion that the United States is here illegally and try to get those countries to commit to approaching the United States or challenging the United States on that basis. So we're trying to give them something they can do, and asking for a review of the resolution, General Assembly Resolution 1469 is a good way to start. So that's one of the things we're trying to do.
Interesting.
Okay, Uncle Leon, so then, what the UN guys going to do? I mean, if they're going to have one review, what they're going to do for the Hawaiian Kingdom like that?
In order to have a review, there would have to be a request from one of the member states. That has been what we've been working on for quite a while. You know, most of the time we've spent at the United Nations really just learning the ropes and learning what it is that we should be asking for. And so there's been a lot of, just time spent putting in motions and putting in petitions and requests. So what we have found is the best route, or one of the routes, most effective routes we can take, is to undermine the United States claim that they put in 1959, and that was then reaffirmed by the General Assembly. Now, the United Nations actually has, the General Assembly is the body, the big body, in which all the nations participate, and every nation has one vote. Now, where it really belongs is in New York with the General Assembly, with their decolonization committee. And that's where the examination should take place, or one of the other committees that are based in New York with the General Assembly. There's the fourth committee on political situations, and there's quite a few committees that could look at this case and examine it and conduct the review. And then upon having that review, they could then submit their report to the General Assembly, and the General Assembly, as a body, can then act on it. So the United States is very familiar with the procedure. The United States was familiar with the procedure before Alaska and Hawaii, but what they did was they conspired, or they decided to withhold information from Hawaii and Alaska and to rig the vote so that there would be no choice. The only choice that they presented was that for statehood or not statehood. So you either voted for it, and by not voting for it, you decide to remain a territory. So there was only one real question on the ballot. And then they not only withheld that there were other options, they strongly promoted statehood, very strongly. And then they required that those who could vote would be declared, would be American citizens, U.S. citizens who could vote. And so what they held was an improper and an illegal plebiscite because we weren't informed about the choices won, and only U.S. citizens could vote. No Hawaiian nationals. Hawaiian nationals could not vote if there were any who identified them as such. And they also weighted the election by having members of the armed forces vote as well, and actually receiving a small stipend for voting. So it was a really rigged election, and so it will never never withstand scrutiny if a review were to be made about the actual procedures that were for these plebiscites. They agreed to form a united movement, a liberation movement of West Papua. And by doing so, that's how they were accepted into the Melanesian Spearhead Group as an observer status, and that's how they are being considered now to become a full member of the Melanesian Spearhead Group. And that's elevated their stature internationally. So there's quite a bit of activity going on, educating people about West Papua, and lots of rallies and things like that all over the world in support of West Papua. And that was because they identified themselves as a national liberation movement, even though they were not a cohesive body and is still factionalized. But together they have this one purpose, and that is to attain recognition that they are a sovereign nation. And so actually I co-wrote a report on that. Actually, it wasn't a report. It was a analysis of the situation, and that later was submitted to the United Nations Fourth Committee for action to be taken, and that's what I was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize for pointing out a peaceful path in which this can be nothing's easy, but then this should be able to be remedied and resolved. So that's why I was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Anyway, Uncle Leon, mahalo, mahalo for the kind of explaining all that to us. At least, we can kind of get one understanding on as Minister of Foreign Affairs, what kind of stuff you do when you go to the United Nations and talk to all these other countries about the Hawaiian Kingdom. So I just pretty much wanted to ask you this kind of stuff so I can put them on Facebook, show people that although here on the media, news or whatever, although hear all kind about you, like what you're going to do and what you're doing, I like the people know you're doing something. You're doing something so much so that they went nominate you for the Nobel Prize. So I congratulate you for all the work, all these years, all these decades, Uncle, that you've been doing for us people in the Kingdom of Hawaii, even though we never know what you was doing. But with the Nobel Prize, now we are going to know, because when that comes public from the United Nations and it starts hitting around the world, I know sooner or later going to hit Hawaii. Everything hit Hawaii last, even though if it's about us. Everybody going to know what you're doing. So mahalo for all your hard work, all your dedication, all the money you spend traveling and all that kind. I know not cheap. Mahalo, and I hope people can recognize what you do and even help you financially. Go give you money. I don't know if you get GoFundMe or whatever, but you should, so that some of us people can kind chip in for what you're doing for us. Okay, Uncle Leon, mahalo, and mahalo for answering my questions. So there you got it, guys, from Uncle Leon himself, the Minister of Foreign Affairs for the Kingdom of Hawaii, doing some good for us. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later.